Now we're going to answer questions about the same passage that we used in one of the previous slides, which was about Henry Moore. You remember that guy? The British sculptor. Yeah? It's just another question type or another question set about the same passage. But this question set is going to be about true, false, not given. Okay? And this photo is also related to the questions. Why do I have to create photos? I prefer to create photos so you can remember the information. So when you get this question set in the exam, the first thing that you have to do is to answer or solve. The first thing that you have to do is to read the questions. Do not read the passage first. Read the questions and highlight the keywords. Okay? So this one is true, false, not given. True, false, not given. Do not write yes, no. You write true, false. Okay? So let's read the questions quickly and highlight the keywords. Focus on leaving school. Okay, leaving school. Moore did what his father wanted him to do. His father wanted him to do. So I have to read it. I have to understand it. So apparently Moore, who's the main character of the passage, left school based on his father's wish or his father's decision, apparently. Okay. Moore began studying sculpture. He started studying sculpture in his first is a number. So number one, first term, like first semester, at Leeds School of Art. It's a very easy keyword to find. So when he went to this school, in his first term, he studied sculpture. Very easy. Okay. Number three, when Moore started at the Royal College of Art, its reputation for teaching sculpture was excellent. So the reputation was good. Again, Royal College of Art is a very easy keyword to find. The word more is not really a keyword. Why? Because the entire passage is about this person. Okay? Moore became aware of ancient sculpture as a result of visiting London Museum. So after he visited London museums, he became aware of ancient sculpture. So the reason for him to be aware or for him to know ancient or old sculpture was him visiting the museums in London. Okay. The that one is, Trocadero Museum. Okay. So this is a name of a museum. Mayan sculpture, which is a type of a sculpture, apparently, attracted a lot of public interest. So this sculpture in this museum made a lot of people interested. Okay. Number six, Moore taught, like the past of teach, the Mayan sculpture, which is a type of a sculpture, apparently, was similar in certain respects to other stone sculpture. Not thought. Sorry, I thought it's taught. Thought, it's the past of think. Yeah. So Moore thought that this sculpture is similar to the other stone sculptures. Yeah. So this one is similar to the other stone sculptures. Okay. Number seven, the artists who belonged to or who were part of Unit 1, it has capital letters, looks like it's a group of people. Yeah. It's a proper noun. Wanted to make modern art and architecture more popular. Modern art and architecture more popular. So the main reason for creating this group apparently was to make modern art and architecture more popular, like to make people like it more. So now I read the questions, I understood the questions, I highlighted the keywords, and I interpreted the questions to myself. So now when I read the passage, when I read one of the keywords, I can relate to the questions. Cool? Cool. Now let me read the passage. Focus. Henry Moore was born in Castleford. Okay. That's his town. Near Leeds in the north of England, he was the seventh child at Raymond Moore and his wife. Okay. Mary Baker. He studied at Castle Grammar School, blah, 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 blah. Where his early interest in art was encouraged by his teacher. Okay, Alice Gostick. After leaving school, I've read this before. Leaving school. 1 second. On leaving school, Mo did what his father wanted him to do. Okay. So after he left school, he did what his dad wanted him to do. Let me read it again. After leaving school, Mo hoped to become a sculptor. Okay. Has nothing to do with his father. But instead, he complied with his father's wish. He complied. When you comply with something, this means you do it. So if you complied with your father's wish, this means you did what your father wanted you to do. That he trained as a school teacher. Okay. So his father wanted him to train as a school teacher and he complied with it. This means he did what his father wanted him to do. So he, on leaving school, Mo did what his father wanted him to do. Very easy. What is the answer for this? Is it yes or no? True or yes? True. Okay. Not yes. So this one is true. Cool. Let's keep reading. He had abandoned his training in 1917 and he was sent to France, blah, 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 blah. Okay. After the war, Mo enrolled at the Leeds School of Art. I've read it somewhere. Let me just double check. Leeds School of Art. Let me read the question again. Mo began studying sculpture in his first term at this school. Okay, let's check. Did he study sculpture in his first term at this school or not? So after the war, Mo enrolled at this school. Okay, what about the first term? Did he study sculpture? Where he studied for 2 years. Okay, he studied for 2 years. Okay. In his first year, he spent most of his time drawing. So in his first year, he studied apparently drawing. So it looks like it's false for now. But let me just read it just to confirm. Although he wanted to study sculpture, even though he wanted to study sculpture, no teacher was appointed. So it looks like he studied drawing. He didn't study sculpture, which is very clear contradiction. So for question number 2, it's going to be correct. False. I'm using capital letters if you're noticing. Correct? Yeah. Let me keep reading. At the end of that year, he passed the sculpture examination and he was awarded the scholarship to the Royal College of London to the Royal College of Art in London. September 1921, he moved to London and he began 3 years of advanced study in sculpture. Okay. Alongside his instruction he received at the Royal College. Royal College? Oh, Royal College. Yeah. Let's read the question properly. When he started at Royal College, the reputation of this Royal College was excellent. So the reputation, what people used to say about this college, that this college was a great college, apparently. The Royal College of Art. Let's check. Alongside the instruction, and by the way, it was mentioned here as well, but I missed it. Yeah. Let me read this part. He was awarded a scholarship at the Royal College of Art in London. And then he moved to London. He began 3 years. Okay. Nothing about the reputation is mentioned here. Let me read the third paragraph. Alongside the instruction he received at the Royal College, Moore visited many of the London museums. Okay, London museums is another thing that was mentioned in the questions. London museums. So I want you to pay attention. Number 3, they mentioned something about the reputation of the Royal College of Art. Up until now, nothing was mentioned about the reputation of this college. Up until now, I don't know. Up until now, I don't know if the reputation was excellent or not. I don't know. And when you don't know, it's not given. Up until now, it's not given. It might be given, but up until now, it's not given. So I'm going to write not given up until now until I find something that's opposite, okay? But for now, nothing is mentioned. And apparently they mentioned London Museum, which is part of question number 4. So it's very likely that it is not given because we're already in part number 4 or in question number 4. So I'm just going to mention not given for now. And by the way, if you write NG, you're going to get ZO or ZE, 0. Don't write NG. NG is Mena's daughter. Okay? Yeah, Mena? NG is Mena's daughter. It's not what you write on the answer sheet. Okay? You write not given. That was a good one for you, NG. Yeah? Not given. Up until now, I'm not very sure, but let's write it not given because we don't have time in the exam. Let's keep reading. So he, number 4, because we read something about London museums, Moore became aware of ancient sculpture as a result of visiting London museums. So he visited London museums, and this was the main reason why he became aware of the old sculpture or ancient sculpture. Okay, let's read. Moore visited many of London museums, particularly British Museum, which had a wide-ranging collection of ancient sculpture. So, one of the museums in London had a wide range or a wide-ranging collection of ancient sculpture. Does that mean he became aware of ancient sculpture because of London museums? I don't know. Let's keep reading. Up until now, it's not very clear. It could be not given for now, but let's keep reading. During these visits, the visits to the British Museum, he discovered the power and the beauty of ancient Egyptian and African sculpture. He discovered when you discover something, this means you are being made aware of this thing. Yeah, so it's something that you discover for the first time. So they made you aware of it. So these visits to the London museums made him discover ancient sculpture. So this means he became aware, he became aware of ancient sculpture as a result of visiting London museums. I think it's true. Yeah? Because he discovered the beauty, and the power of the ancient Egyptian and African sculpture. This means it's true. Where is Menna and Asma? Are you happy? Because Egyptian. Are you happy? Good. True. Cool? All right. Let's keep reading. We are here. Egyptian and African sculpture. As he became increasingly interested in these primitive forms of art, primitive means old, he turned away from European sculpture or from the European sculpture traditions. Okay. After graduating, Mo spent the first 6 months of traveling to France, where he visited. This name, I think I read it somewhere. Trocadero. You don't have to know this museum, but I read it somewhere. Here you go. The Trocadero Museum, maybe it's Trocadero, I don't know. You don't really have to know how it's pronounced, yeah? The Trocadero Museum's Mayan sculpture attracted a lot of public interest. This sculpture in this museum attracted a lot of public interest. So this sculpture in this museum attracted a lot of people. A lot of people were interested in this sculpture. Let me read. When he visited this museum in Paris, he was impressed by a cast of a Mayan sculpture. Here you go. A Mayan sculpture, which is a type of a sculpture of the rain spirit, whatever. It was a male reclining figure with its knees drawn up together and its head at a right angle. By the way, this is what we're talking about, just letting you know. That's why I created this picture. Yeah, just letting you know. Yeah, what I'm reading now is describing this sculpture. Yeah, see? It was a male reclining figure when its knees drawn up together and the head is blah, 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 blah. He became fascinated with the stone sculpture, which he thought had a power and originally no other sculpture possessed. 1 second. Something about stone sculptures was mentioned in the question. Stone sculpture. Question number 6. So question number 5, attracting a lot of public interest. Nothing was really mentioned about public interest when we spoke about this type of sculpture. Up until now, it's not given. Yeah? Because we already moved to question number 6. We started talking about the stone sculptures. And as you know, in true, false, not given, or yes, no, not given, the questions are mentioned in order. So if you're reaching question number 6, this means you already finished question number 5. And if the answer for question number 5 was not found, this means it's not given up until now. It's not given. Yeah? Because nothing was really mentioned about public interest or that people were really interested in it. So I'm just going to write not given for now. And now let's read something about the stone sculptures. Number 6. Mo thought that this Mayan sculpture was similar to other stone sculptures. So the other stone sculptures were very similar to this Mayan sculpture. Okay. Look here. Let's read this sentence. Mo became fascinated, like he was very interested in this stone sculpture, which is the Mayan sculpture, which he thought had a power and originality. It was original, like not a copy, not similar. So it had originality that no other sculptures or no other stone sculpture that no other stone sculpture possessed. So it was original, it wasn't a copy, it wasn't similar. The question says, he thought it was similar. No. It had originality. It was original. It wasn't a copy. It wasn't similar. False. Clear contradiction, it's false. Can you see the difference now? Yeah, see? They used the word originality in the passage, and they used the word similar in the question. Originality means it's like original. It doesn't have a copy. It's not similar, which means it's opposite to the word similar. So it's a false. False. Okay. Question number 7, unit 1. This is the easy keyword to find. He himself started craving or carving a variety of sculpture in stone, included depictions, reclining woman, blah, blah, blah. Nothing about unit 1 is mentioned. More exceptional talent soon gained recognition. 1977 sculpture instructor at Royal College. Nothing about unit 1 is mentioned. In 1933, he became a member of a group. He became a member of a group called Unit 1. Okay. The aim of this group was to convince the English public. If you don't know the meaning of the word public, do not go to the exam. The English public, this means the general public, the society, the people. So to convince the English people of the merits of the emerging international movement in the modern art and architecture. So there was like a group. The main aim of this group was to convince, to make English people aware of how good or how interesting the modern art and architecture is. What was the question? The artists who belonged to Unit 1 wanted to make modern art and architecture more popular. Art and architecture more popular. This means they wanted people to know about art and architecture. Let me read it again. To convince English public emerging art and architecture, to convince them of the merits and emerging international movement. So they wanted to tell people about the merits, how good modern art and architecture is. Does it mean to make it more popular? I think so. If you want to tell how good something is, this means you want to make it popular, correct? They want to tell people about the merits of architecture. This means you want to make it popular. It's a good thing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I think it's true. I think it's true. Yeah. They want to make modern art and architecture more popular. They want to convince the general public of the merits of modern art and architecture. I think it's true. I think it's true. When I want to tell something, when you want to say the good things about something, this means you want to make it popular. Yeah. Because merits is a good thing. So I would say true. See? All the questions, if you noticed, they came in order in the passage. We found number 1 first, and then number 2, and then number 3, and then number 4, then number 5, then number 6, and then number 7. Even the not givens, even the not given ones, yes, they were not given, but the keywords in the questions were mentioned in the passage. For example, number 3 and number 5, both of them were not given, but this was mentioned in the passage. And this was mentioned in the passage. So yes, it's not given, but the keywords are given. You got it? Let me check. So true, false, not given. True, not given, false, true. True, false, not given. True, not given, false, true. Correct. So this is the correct answer sheet. You can take a photo. Zaya is asking a question. They always come in order, no exception, right? To be completely honest with you, Zaya, the questions, I would say 90% of the time do come in order, not 100% of the time. Yeah, but just to make it easier for yourself, just say it's 100% of the time, even though it's not always the case, but 95% of the time, they do come in order. Yeah, and if they don't, probably one of the questions is going to be before one of the questions. It's not like all over the place. Okay, so do not worry. Let's move to the following passage now. Environmental practices of big businesses. The activity that you can see on the screen is called, type in the chat. Tell me, what is this called? This activity or this practice, what do you think it's called? Cutting trees from forests. Yusuf is saying deforestation, correct. Logging, correct. Both of them mean the same thing. Deforestation or logging, which means cutting trees from forests. And this is a very popular topic that comes a lot in the IELTS, whether it's in the reading, listening, or even writing, or sometimes even speaking. It's a very popular topic that you should know a lot of words about. Now we have a topic that is about logging or deforestation or environmental practices of big businesses that are not really legal. Let's read the questions. First of all, I want you to pay attention. What do we have here? Yes, no. So if the sentence is true, and if you write true, that's true. You're going to get a 0. If the sentence is true, and you write true, that's true. You're going to get a 0 because you have to write a yes. Yes, no, not given. Do not write true, false, not given. Okay? So why is it yes, no, not given? Because look here, we're talking about the writer's claims or the writer's opinions. That's why. Yeah? In the previous passage, let me just show you. We're talking about information. We're not talking about the opinion or the views or the claims of a writer. That's why it was true, false, not given. But in this case, we're talking about the claims or the opinions of a writer. That's why it's yes, no, based on his or her opinion. Okay? All right. Let's read the questions and highlight the keywords. The public, again, the word public, you should know what this means. Yeah? This means the general public, the people, the society, should be prepared to fund good environmental practices. Fund means to pay money. So the public should be willing to pay money to fund or to create good environmental practices, like not cutting the trees, for example. Yeah, not having a lot of pollution, for example. Okay. There is a contrast between the moral principles of different businesses. Moral principles, like some businesses, they have a good moral principle. The other businesses do not have a good moral principle. The word moral, this means when you have good morals, like you're doing good things. You don't lie, you don't kill people, you don't steal. These are called good morals. Yeah. So some businesses do care about morals. Some businesses do not care about good morals. Number 37, it's important to make a clear distinction between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. So it's important to know the differences between good acts and bad acts, technically. Okay. Number 38, the public have successfully influenced businesses in the past. So people in general, they influenced the businesses. They made a difference when it comes to the businesses, to the companies. The people affected the companies. Is this true or false? Let's see. In the future, businesses will show more concern for the environment. Businesses will care about the environment. So in the future, businesses will care about the environment. See, I'm trying to interpret the question to myself. Okay? All right. Now, Let's read the passage. Some readers may be disappointed or outraged that I place ultimate responsibility for business practices harming the public. The word public was mentioned in the question. Let me just read it again. The public should be prepared to fund good environmental practices. So if they want to have good environmental practices, like no pollution, no cutting of trees, this means the public themselves should pay money. Fund means to pay money. When you want to fund something, this means you're willing to pay money. Okay. Public. I also believe that the public, okay, must accept the necessity of higher prices for products to cover the added costs, if any, to sound environmental practices. So the writer is saying that the public must accept higher prices to cover the added cost. In other words, they should fund, it's another way of saying fund, sound or good or strong environmental practices. Let me read the question again. The public should be prepared to fund good environmental practices. Good in the passage, he means sound. Environmental practices, good environmental practices. Fund means accept the necessity of higher costs. True, false, or not given? True or false? True or false? Correct. Yes or no? I was tricking you. Correct. So it's yes. So in the exam, if you write true, you're going to get a 0. Why? Because it's yes. It's not true. Okay? So you have to erase it like a good boy or a good girl and write yes. Correct? Correct, Isa. All right. I'm better with the iPad now, if you notice. Yeah? I'm improving. Okay. My views, if you notice, when we are reading this passage, the writer is talking about himself. My views. I also. That's why it's yes, no, because we're talking about his or her views. See the way the passage is written? It's very personal. I think, my view, our society. But the previous passage about Henry Moore was more academic, more factual. That's why it was true, false. Okay? So my views may seem to ignore the belief that businesses should act in accordance with moral principle, even though it leads to a reduction in their profits. The word or this phrase, moral principle, was mentioned somewhere. Let me just read it. There is no contrast between moral principles of different businesses. You have to understand this question. This question says that some businesses have good moral principles and some other businesses have bad moral principles. Because this means contrast. Contrast means the opposite. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Okay? So let's read the actual question. He is saying, my views seem to ignore the belief that businesses should act in accordance with moral principles. Even this leads to a reduction in their profits. Okay, do they have good or bad moral principles? Up until now, I don't know. See, when I do this, up until now, it's not given because we don't know if there is contrast between the moral principles of businesses. I don't know up until now, but let me read. But I think we have to recognize that throughout human history in politically complex human societies, government regulations has arisen precisely because it was found that not only did moral principles need to be made explicit, clear, they also needed to be enforced. Up until now, I don't know if there is a contrast between good and bad moral principles of businesses. Up until now, it's not given. Up until now, number 36 is not given. There's contrast. Up until now, I'm just going to write not given. I might change it later if I found the answer, but up until now, it's not given. Up until now, it's not given. Shall I write NG? Who is NG? Mana's daughter. Correct? If you write NG in the exam, you're going to get ZE. So what should you write? Not given. Obviously, add a space here, yeah, because I have to fix the thickness of the pen. But in the exam, write it properly. You know what? Let me teach you. I should teach you an example. Not, here you go. Not given. Okay. Up until now, it's not given. Number 37, it is important to make a clear distinction between acceptable and non-acceptable behavior. Like, it's important, it's necessary, it's crucial to distinguish between good behavior and bad behavior. Let me read. Government regulations has arisen precisely because it was found that not all good moral principles need to be made explicit, but they also needed to be enforced. So a moral principle, does it mean good behavior? Yeah, when you have a moral principle, this means you have to behave in a good way. So when you make something explicit, this means you make it clear, correct? So if you want to make the moral principles clear, this means good behaviors or acceptable behaviors have to be clear. Let me read the questions again. It's important to make clear distinction between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. This means you should make explicit. When you make something explicit, this means you make a very clear distinction. Yeah. So for now, number 37, because you're making the moral principles very explicit, this means you're making a clear distinction between good and bad behaviors. For now, I'll write yes. For number 37, it's yes. Up until now. But let me read. I don't know what I'm going to be having in the coming paragraph. To me, the conclusion that the public has ultimate responsibility for the behavior of even the biggest businesses is empowering and hopeful rather than disappointing. Okay. My conclusion is that a moralistic one is not a moralistic one. But who's right and who's wrong? Who's admirable and who's selfish? Who's good and who's bad? Focus here. Now it's getting a little bit confusing. My conclusion is not a moralistic one. This means he doesn't care about morals. The writer doesn't care about morals. He doesn't care what's right and what's wrong. He doesn't care. See, my conclusion is not a moralistic one. It's not about morals. So now the writer is confusing me. Let me read the question again. It's important to make a clear distinction between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. He's saying my conclusion is not moralistic. It's not important. It's not important to know who's right and who's wrong. It's not a moralistic conclusion. My conclusion is not a moralistic one about who's right, who's wrong. To be completely honest with you, if this sentence here, if this sentence was not mentioned, I would stick to yes. But because it's mentioned and it's after the one that we read, this means it's more important because it's after and it says my conclusion, like the end, is not a moralistic one. This means the writer doesn't care about good and bad behavior. So I would change this to no, based on the sentence that I read. So this one, I would change it to no, even though it was yes before. See, it's confusing sometimes. You have to be careful. Yeah. Why did we change it? Because the second sentence is more important than the first one, and it has the word conclusion. This means it overrides the previous one. So this one, I will change it, and I would write yes. It's I would write no. Sorry, I would write no. So it looks like the writer doesn't have any morals, apparently, like a lot of people in these days. Is it important? The writer doesn't care. I want you to pay attention here. When you read this sentence without the exam, it's important to distinguish or to make a clear distinction between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. Everyone would say yes, like it's a common sense, right? But what is the answer? The answer is no. What does that tell you? Your opinion doesn't matter in the exam. No one cares about your opinion. Yeah? Because you might write yes based on your understanding, but the writer has another opinion, so you have to be careful. Okay? Here we have in the past, in the future. Let's look for these words. In the past. Okay. Oh, focus. In the past. What was the question? Just a quick one. In the past, the public influenced businesses successfully. So people changed the behavior of companies successfully in the past. Okay. Let me read. So in the past, businesses have changed. Okay, but who changed them? When the public came to expect and require different behavior, to reward businesses for the behavior that the public wanted and to make things difficult for business practicing behaviors that the public didn't want. So this means the public did successfully change the behavior of businesses. Yeah. So the businesses came to expect, sorry, businesses have changed when the public came to expect and require different behavior. So when the public wanted another behavior, businesses have changed. This means the public influenced businesses. So number 38, is it true or false? Number 38. All of you are saying yes, so it's not true. If you write true, if you write true in the exam, you will get a 0. I have to remind you, yeah? You have to write yes. Cool. Okay. So now what about the future? Businesses will show more concern for the environment. So the businesses will care more about the environment in the future. Okay. Let me read. I predict. Wait. See, I predict. The writer is predicting. He's guessing that in the future, okay, what will happen in the future? Just as in the past, okay, very similar to the past, changes in public attitudes will be essential, will be important to change businesses' environmental practices. So the public's, the opinion of the public is going to be important to change the behavior of businesses. So number 38, is it yes or no? The businesses will change and they will show more concern for the environment. Yes or no? The writer said that the public will influence, see, or the public behavior will be important to change the business's practices. Everyone is saying yes. Alex is saying true. When you say true in a yes or no question, you're going to get a zero, regardless. Okay, Alex, zero. The rest are saying yes. All of you are also going to get a zero. All of you are going to get a zero. It's not a yes. Focus. In the future, businesses will show more concern about the environment. This means businesses will care about the environment. But in the passage, he's saying that in the future, the public opinion or the public behavior will be important to change the business's behavior. Maybe the businesses do not care about the environment, but the public opinion is important. So this sentence, if you want to paraphrase it, it means the public opinion is important in the future. The question says, businesses will show more concern in the future. I don't know. The public opinion is important, but maybe the businesses do not really care. The businesses do not care, but the public will make them change, but they don't care about the environment. Correct? So now, is it yes? Is it no? Is it not given? Will they show more concern for the environment? In the passage, they're saying that the public opinion is important. What about the businesses? Will they care? Maybe they will. Maybe they will not care. Maybe the public opinion is going to make them care, or maybe the public opinion will not make them care. What is the answer? NG. Who's NG? Menas Dora. If you write it, you're going to get a zero. What should you write? Not given. Be careful. So yes, not given, no. Yes, not given. Let me check. Yes, not given, no. Yes, not given. Correct. Afnan, you're going to get a zero. Take a screenshot. Let me just give me 1 minute, okay? So in the reading, we covered a lot of things now. The reading section. We covered components, answer sheet, time management, popular topics, question types. Now we are covering scoring. How your scoring or how your score is given to you. Each mark inside, get it right. Get every mark right. In the reading, as I told you, we have 40 questions. 40. Based on the number of correct answers, you're going to be getting your score out of 9. For example, look at the cursor. In the academic version, if you scored 25, which is between 27 and 20, which is between 23 and 26, you're going to get a 6. So in the academic version, if you got 25 correct answers, you're going to get a 6. In the general version, if you got 25, which is between 23 and 26, you're going to get a 5. So in the academic version, you're going to get a higher score for the same number of correct answers. Why? Because the academic version is much more difficult than the general training version. Okay? So if you got the same number of correct answers, you're going to get a higher score in the academic than the general training version of the reading. Okay? For you to get a 9, I got a 9, luckily, but it was the general training version. This means I got 40 out of 40 correct answers. Oh, Isa, you're very smart. No, I'm not very smart, but the general is kind of easy, to be honest. Kind of easy. Yeah, I got 40. Yeah. Maybe if I did the academic, maybe I'll get 8.5, maybe 9. Depends how lucky I am. Yeah. So you can get a 9. I'm telling you this because I want to tell you that you can get a 9. It's not rocket science. You can get a 9. Okay. So take a screenshot of this because this is what you're going to be using when you're going to evaluate your score when you are studying solo. So take a screenshot. Yes, we already took a screenshot. Okay. Studying solo. Read and review. The skills are in you. Read and review. The skills are in you. How to study reading alone. Look at the photo. Look at this photo. Cambridge Dictionary. So Isa, how do we study reading alone? It's the exact same way you studied listening. I want you to print the exam papers and the answer sheets. And I told you where to find past exams. And if you want to find the answer sheet, you can find it online and you can find it on my website, topsportacademy.com. If you go to the reading course, you just put in your email and you can download the answer sheet from the website. It's very important to print them out because you want to mimic the exam conditions. You want to write it on the piece of paper. Yeah? Do not just practice using the questions booklet. Print out the answer sheet as well. And then practice the full tests under the exam conditions. Yeah? For example, if you're doing the academic version, you have 3 full passages. You can do all of them in 60 minutes, or you can do one of them in 20 minutes. But you have to time yourself. And these 60 minutes or 20 minutes, they include transfer time, which means transferring your answer to the answer sheet. It's very important. And then based on the correct answers that you have, obviously you have to compare your answers to the key answers. And then you're going to be able to calculate your score based on the table I just showed you previously to know how many correct answers you've got and what is your score out of 9 is. And then this is very important that a lot of students do not really do. You have to know why you made the mistakes. Well, there's no audio here. Don't worry about audio. Audio is for the listening. Yeah. Review mistakes with the answer key. Okay. So you should know why you're making mistakes. Do not just I got 25 out of 40. This means I got 6. No. You've got 15 wrong answers. You should know why you've got 15 wrong answers. You should check the answers and you should know why you got them the incorrect way. And the words that you do not know, look them up in the dictionary, and that's why you have this Cambridge dictionary here in the photo. Trust me. If you do not do this, your score is not going to improve. Look up the unfamiliar words in the passages. You have to. Do not just ignore them. This is obviously if you want to have a good score. If you want to get a 5, don't worry. It's fine. Well, if you want to get a 3, you said 3? Yeah, some people do get 3. No, you said I'm going to get a 4. Okay, good. Research unfamiliar topics. What do I mean by this? For example, we read something about logging and deforestation and illegal environmental practices. Do a quick research about this topic just to get some information. Yeah, just to link the words that you learned to a video or to a photo. You know what I mean? It makes more sense to you. And these topics, trust me, they keep appearing in the IELTS exam. If they're not appearing in the reading, they're going to appear in the listening. If they're not appearing in the listening, they're going to appear in the writing. So do please familiarize yourself with these topics. And then after you do this, move to the next passage and then repeat. Okay? It's very important. It's easy. All what you have to do is just to have some sort of discipline and dedication. Do it under exam conditions, please. Okay? 20 minutes for the long passages, 10 minutes for the short passages. Obviously, in this course, I didn't do any one of the exercises. I didn't do any one of the exercises from the general training version, because what I would normally do, I would train myself using the academic version. Why? Because it's more difficult. This is what I did when I did my general training IELTS. I trained myself using the academic version of the IELTS. Because as I told you, in the general training version of the IELTS, the fifth passage of the general training passage, of the general training reading, is going to be a long passage, which is very similar to the academic version of the IELTS. So if you're doing the general version of the IELTS, do academic passages. In other words, long passages. Okay, is it clear? Thumbs up if it's clear. Angie, we've been talking about you for like half an hour. Yeah? We've been talking about you. Okay. Oh, writing. Isa, please. Isa. Chapter 6. So we've covered 5 chapters. Number 1 was IELTS 101. Number 2 was study materials. Number 3 was words to know. Number 4 was listening. Number 5 was reading. Number 6 is writing. Write it clear. Bring success ni. Write it clear. Bring success ni. So why don't you say the R? Should be write it clear. Bring success near. Okay. You're not gonna get the visa. No, Isa. I will. I just have a very special accent. All right, no problem. Oh, no problem. All right, writing. In other words, writing in Arabic. What is the breakdown of this chapter? The exact similar breakdown of the other chapters. We're going to talk about the components of the writing section, how the answer sheets look like, how you manage your time properly in this section. What are the popular topics that keep coming up? What are the different question types? How are you going to get your score in the writing section? And how to study alone. NG, the Wi-Fi is the worst thing. You haven't paid the bill? Yeah. Tell your grandpa, yeah, to pay the bill. Actually, yes, I know. Now, what do you do with your fingers? I crack my fingers. Are you ready? The components of the components of the writing exam. 2 tasks to write, get them just right. 2 tasks to write, get them right. The components of the writing section of the exam. Focus with me, please. Inji and Mena, can you stop talking to each other? Oh, Omar, thank you for turning the camera on. Good. Good boy. Good man, I mean. You're a man. You're not a boy. Yes, I'm 21. All right. See, Salman, we are old. He's only 21. Yeah? All right. The components of the writing exam. We have 2 tasks in the writing exam. Task 1 and task 2. The word task means a question. The task 1 is going to be either a report or a letter. If you are doing the academic version of the IELTS exam, you are going to be writing a report. What do I mean by a report? They're going to give you a graph or a chart or a diagram or a map where you have to describe what you see in words. And I will show you examples. Do not worry. The word letter, what does it mean? When you write a letter to your friend or to your manager or to your neighbors, maybe asking them about something. Maybe you're complaining about something. Maybe you are thanking them for something. This is for the general training version of the IELTS exam. So a report, if you're doing the academic version, or a letter, if you are doing the general training version. Obviously, a letter is much easier than a report. What about task 2, which is the second question in the writing exam? It's technically an essay. So what is an essay? An essay is a piece of writing. You write something. And whatever you're writing is technically you are presenting your opinion about a specific topic or discussing people's views about a specific topic or mentioning maybe advantages and disadvantages about a specific topic or maybe talking about the problems and solutions about a specific topic. For example, pollution. They might ask you to write about the causes and the solutions for the problem of pollution. Or they might ask you to mention or say your opinion about the problem of relying a lot on social media. People are using social media a lot these days. What is your opinion about this? Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? This is what we mean by an essay. And do not worry, I'm going to show you examples. Obviously, task 2 in the writing is the same for both the academic version of the IELTS and the general training version of the IELTS. Do you remember when we spoke about IELTS 101, we mentioned that the writing is not exactly the same for both versions? We said that it's 60% the same or it's 2/3 the same. Correct? Why? Because we have task 2. Task 2 is exactly the same for both versions, but task 1 is not exactly the same. It's different. And task 2, and I will show you this in the scoring chapter, is worth 2/3 of the mark. The marks or the score that you're going to get for the essay is 2 times the score that you're going to get for the task 1. Okay? So the essay is more important. It's worth more marks. And I will show you how we calculate the score in the coming slides. For the report or the letter, because it's worth less marks, they're going to ask you to write at least 150 words. But for the essay, 250 words minimum. So this is the minimum number of words that you have to write. And in the IELTS, it's not like back in school when you used to write ta'bir in Arabic. You keep writing a lot of words, hoping that the teacher doesn't have time to read them, so you get a higher score. In the IELTS, it's not the same. Yeah? So if you write, for example, 1 million words instead of 250, this doesn't mean that you're going to get a higher score. You might get a 0. And you might write 250 words for the essay, exactly, like on the dot, and get a full mark. So I want you to pay attention here. The more words you write doesn't mean you're going to get a higher score, because it's about quality, not quantity. Okay? It's not an Arabic ta'bir. When you add hadith and you add a lot of things, hoping that you can get 3 or 4, 5 lines extra. Yeah? So we aim for good quality, not good quantity. So these are the components of the writing exam. Inji is saying, how do you understand me so much? Inji, because I'm not from Switzerland. Yeah? All my teachers were Egyptian back at school. So we have the same mindset. Yeah? The answer sheet. Stick to the lines. Make it shine. Oh, should be an S here. It doesn't rhyme very well, but it's all right. Not my mistake. Stick to the line. Make it shine. Don't worry about the S. Okay, so the answer sheet of the writing, how is it going to look like? It's going to look like this. See? Writing task 1. You have lines. So you have to make them shine, the lines. Based on this, stick to the lines, looking, lines. Make them shine. Okay, make the lines shine. This is task 1, and this is task 2. The exact same thing. When you are practicing, and I want to tell you, and I will tell you how to practice when I cover the studying alone or solo studying chapter, you have to print out these answer sheets because you have to get used to them. Okay? This is obviously if you're doing the paper-based exam. If you're doing the computer-delivered exam, it's another story. Okay? But this is how they look like. You should practice using these sheets. Okay? And I want you to look at this table, official use only. See? Can you see the cursor? TACCLRGRA. I will explain what these ones mean in the coming slides. Okay? If you want to download them, go to topsportacademy.com, go to the essay writing course or letter writing course or report writing course, and you can download them. If you scroll down, you'll find where you can download them. Very important to use them. Okay, this is for task 2. Now, how to manage your time. This is important. Now it's getting serious. How do you manage your time in the writing section? You have minutes to plan, and you should be able to write like a champ. You like this one? Champ, plan. Well, it's not really rhyming, but it's right. Not bad. Okay? Yeah, no. Minutes to plan, write like a champ, like a champion. Focus. In the writing section, they're going to give you 60 minutes. In other words, 1 hour. And there is something that I forget to tell you. And there is something that I forgot to tell you. The writing, and mark my words, is the section where you're going to get your lowest score. Your lowest score is going to be in the writing. 100%. Trust me. Unless you're like a journalist. Yeah. Unless you're a journalist in Washington Post or a very big newspaper. Yeah. You're going to get your lowest score in the writing. Why? Because when was the last time you wrote something professional apart from WhatsApp? Even on WhatsApp these days, you just send voice notes because you're too lazy to type. Correct? Yeah. And when you're writing an email now at work, I know you use ChatGPT. Correct? You're not even using your words. So we don't really write that much. So your score is going to be the lowest in writing. This means it's the most difficult section, and it's not only you. If you go to the IELTS official website, IELTS.org, it's a general trend all over the world. People get the lowest score in the writing because we write the least compared to speaking or listening or writing or reading, sorry. Hey, Aya, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Okay. So they're going to give you 60 minutes. Your 60 minutes in the writing are going to be divided into 40 minutes for task 2 and 20 minutes for task 1. Focus with me, yeah? 20 minutes for task 1, 40 minutes for task 2. However, you have to manage your time by yourself, meaning they're going to give you 1 hour. You can use 59 minutes writing task 1 and 1 minute writing task 2. It's up to you. They're not going to stop you after 20 minutes, or they're not going to stop you after 40 minutes. It's your decision how to manage your time properly. That's why it's important to know how to manage your time properly. So for task 1, the total time you should be spending on is 20 minutes, 20. And let me tell you something. The 20 minutes that you're going to be spending on task 1, it's not going to be about writing. Oh, Isa, but we're talking about writing now. Focus with me. The 20 minutes that they're going to give you for task 1, you should not spend it on writing. Isa, it's getting serious now. Say it again. The 20 minutes they're going to give you, you're not going to spend it on writing. Isa, what do you mean? I mean that you have to divide it into 3 parts. The first part is called planning. The second part is called writing. The third part is called proofreading. Planning, writing, proofreading. Writing should only be around 75% of your time. 25% of your time should be spent on planning and proofreading. So the 40 minutes they're going to give you for task 2, 40 minutes for task 2, you should be spending around 5 minutes planning. Isa, what do you mean by planning? Very important. And now I'm going to be explaining why this photo is there on the slide. I have to be careful. So 5 minutes on planning for task 2 and around 3 minutes in task 1. Planning, Isa, what do you mean by planning? Keep this question in your mind. I'm going to get back to it. But for now, I'm just going to tell you planning, okay? When you want to write, the actual writing should only be 30 minutes in task 2 and only 15 minutes in task 1. Not more than this. Proofreading, 5 minutes for task 2, around 2 minutes for task 1. Now the total time for task 2 is 40 minutes and for task 1 is 20 minutes. 20 plus 40 is 60. So what do you mean? It's confusing now. A lot of numbers, Isa. Listen, when they give you the question, the biggest mistake a lot of students make is starting writing directly without planning. Planning means reading the question properly, analyzing the question, generating ideas, and arranging the paragraphs. Again, reading the question, analyzing the question, generating ideas. Number 4, arranging your paragraphs. You say, what do you mean by paragraphs? I'm going to tell you what I mean by paragraphs in the coming sections. Don't worry. The photo that we have on this slide is a generator. When you don't have electricity, what do you have normally on the roof? A generator that operates on petrol. This is a generator. And there's like a rope that you have to pull to start generating electricity, correct? And this generator is operating on petrol or oil. If you have a lot of oil or a lot of petrol, but you cannot generate electricity, you cannot pull the rope properly, this means you're not going to get electricity. What does that mean, Isa? This doesn't make sense. Focus. Let's say you are William Shakespeare, the best English writer in history. And you took William Shakespeare to an IELTS exam. And you asked William Shakespeare to talk about nuclear energy. Write an essay about nuclear energy. If William Shakespeare doesn't have ideas to write about, he's going to get a 0. So for you to be able to go to the IELTS exam and perform well, this doesn't mean you have to only be a good writer. You also have to have ideas to write about. This means you have to be able to generate ideas. If you cannot generate ideas, there is nothing to write about. There is nothing to show how good your English through. This means you're going to get a 0. That's why I have this photo, a generator. If you can think of your English as the oil or the petrol, but you cannot really put them into action or into practice because you cannot pull the rope properly. This means you cannot generate ideas. You cannot express your ideas properly. This means you're going to get a 0. So your generator is useless. So that's why you have to spend not at least, I would say a maximum of 5 minutes generating ideas and arranging your paragraphs. Isa, does that mean I can only generate ideas during the exam? No. If you do not have prior knowledge to many popular topics that keep coming up in the IELTS exam, trust me, you're not going to write well. And in the coming slide, I'm going to show you what are the most popular topics that keep coming up in the IELTS exam. If you do not know how to write about them, if you do not know how to generate ideas about these topics, you're going to struggle thinking about these ideas, even if your English is perfect. So generating ideas is very, very, very important. You got it? So planning means generating ideas, reading the question properly, and preparing or arranging your paragraphs. Okay, writing, you know what writing is. What about proofreading? Proofreading is the easiest way to increase your score. Proofreading means to read quickly after you read, to pick mistakes. This means to read quickly after you write, to pick small mistakes, like a punctuation mark missing, a small and a capital letter is missing, a grammatical mistake that is wrong, that you know is wrong, but because you wrote quickly, you made a quick mistake. This is called proofreading. By fixing these small mistakes, trust me, you can get your score from 6 to 7 maybe. Just by fixing these small mistakes. That's why you should finish writing in 30 minutes and have 5 minutes to proofread. Okay? So allocate around 25% of your time between planning and proofreading and 75% of your time doing the actual writing. Do not spend the entire time writing. Trust me, it's not going to help you. How do you manage your time properly? By practicing. If you don't practice, you're not going to be able to do whatever I'm telling you now. Is it clear? Okay. Can you understand why we have a generator in the image? So, yeah, I want you to remember, to generate ideas. It's called idea generation. Okay? Your English is the petrol. Your petrol is useless if you cannot pull the rope. Okay? He said, but I'm strong. I can pull the rope. You have to have petrol if you're strong. Okay, so okay. Generating ideas. What are the topics that we should be generating ideas about? That's why we have this slide. From housing to pollution, master every solution. Your topics could be about housing, could be about pollution, but you have to master every solution. All right, Isa, it's getting exciting now. What are the popular topics that keep coming up in the writing section of the IELTS exam, Isa? Please tell me, because I want to generate ideas every day. And then, Isa, after you finish, I want you to tell me, how is this related to the image that you have? Don't worry. Every image I have has a link to everything I say. I'm having these images because I want them to leave a footprint in your head so you never forget them. Okay? Okay. Thank you, Tuqa. Education and learning. Very popular topic that keeps coming up in writing. They might ask you about schools. They might ask you about literacy rate. They might ask you about female and male students. Yeah. Work and career, unemployment. Yeah. The unemployment rate. Is salary more important Or is job satisfaction more important? Technology and innovation. They might ask you about the AI and the influence of AI on the job market, for example. Crime and justice, yeah, or punishing criminals, or high crime rate in certain countries. Why is it increasing? What are the solutions? Health and nutrition. Some people think that eating healthy is healthy. Others think that these organic foods are technically not really that healthy because there is a lot of chemicals in them. Discuss the environment and sustainability. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that driving cars these days harm the environment because of the carbon dioxide. Yeah, how do we preserve and protect and save the environment? Travel and tourism. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that traveling to other countries to spend the honeymoon is a good way of spending good time. Other people saying that traveling locally is better. Yeah. Discuss both views. What are the benefits of and disadvantages of each way of spending the honeymoon? Yeah. Family and parenting and children. Yeah, a lot of people are saying movies these days are affecting the way we raise kids. Others are saying that school teachers have a big responsibility when it comes to raising children. Transport and infrastructure, yeah, trains and cars. A lot of people are saying that these days people should be using public transport more than cars. Others saying that it's not practical. See, a lot of topics that you can talk about. Okay, so what is the relationship between this and your image? It doesn't make sense, Isa. Yeah, because sometimes in the IELTS exam, they might even ask you to talk about space exploration, my friend. Yeah, a lot of governments these days are spending a lot of money to explore the space. Other people are saying it's a waste of time and waste of resources to spend this money on space exploration, and this money should be spent on education and creating hospitals. Discuss. He said, discuss. Discuss what, for God's sake? Yeah? That's why you have this photo. Yeah? You have to say sometimes why is it important to spend a lot of money exploring the space and landing on the moon. Why? Why is it important? If you don't know what to write about, if you do not know what to write about these topics, even if you're William Shakespeare, you're going to get a 0 because you don't know anything about space exploration. They might even ask you about nuclear energy. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that governments these days are spending a lot of money on creating nuclear plants. Others are saying this money should be spent on transportation and infrastructure. Discuss both views. So and obviously this is just a small portion of the popular topics that keep coming up in the IELTS exam. Okay, Isa, looks like this is only about task 2. What about task 1? Task 1 is also about the same thing. For example, if you look at education and learning, which is the first bullet point, in task 2, they might ask you to talk about this topic. For example, a lot of people these days are saying that children are learning better using iPads. Others are saying that sticking to textbooks is much more beneficial. Discuss both views. It's about education. When it comes to task 1, for example, let's say task 1 academic, they might tell you to compare male and female students, or the percentage of male and female students in a specific university over the last 10 years. It's also about education and learning. In task 1 general, which is writing a letter, they might ask you to write a letter to a specific university to apply for a master's degree. It's also about education and learning. Yeah. So all of these topics can be about task 1, academic, task 1, general, and also task 2. You should be familiar with these topics. Okay? And in the comprehensive course that we have on our website, we cover, I wouldn't say all of them, but we have a booklet that covers a lot of topics and that helps you generate ideas for all of these topics. You should be very easy when it comes to generating ideas about these topics. If you don't know how to generate ideas, you're going to spend most of your time in the exam generating ideas, which means less time writing, which means you're going to get a very bad score. So the ideas should come very quickly to you. Okay? When I tell you, okay, so tell me what about space exploration? You should know. What are the ideas about space exploration? You can say, space exploration is important because today pollution is happening on our planet Earth. If you want to explore new planets, this means people can live in the other planets. For example, it's a very bad example, but I'm telling you that you have to be able to generate ideas very quickly. Yeah? Because you don't have time in the exam to generate ideas. You only have 5 minutes. Is it clear? Clear. It's a clear, but we want to cry. Cry, but is it clear? Clear. Okay, but I want to cry. Cry, no problem. Question types. What are the different question types, Isa, when it comes to writing? From essay to task. Master the ask. Okay. A lot of question types. Focus. Not many jokes today. It's okay. Angie is not happy. I know, Angie is not happy. Why? I'm happy, I'm happy. My mom just forced me to attend. But I do not want to attend. What are the different question types? Shall we take a break for 2 minutes or 3 minutes? I want to take a break, to be honest. Just 2 minutes. 2 minutes because I want to recharge. Only 2 minutes. Only 2 minutes. No, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Did you just wear a jacket or a jumper, Salman? You getting cold? Yeah. Are you ready? All right. Can you see the screen? All right. Question types. What sort of question types do we get in the writing? Regarding task 1 academic, where you have to write a report, as I told you, to compare data or information between graphs, charts, tables, and diagrams. What are the question types that we should be expecting? You have around 5 to 6 different question types. And just letting you know, by the way, we have a full course on how to write task 1 academic. Just letting you know, this one alone by itself is 14 hours. The course for task 1 academic is 14 hours of edited footage. 14 hours by itself. Because there's a lot of things about this course. But I'm gonna try to summarize it in like less than an hour. But it's a lot of content, okay? Just letting you know. They might ask you, number 1, to summarize what I personally call a graph or a chart with a timeline. A timeline, if you look at the x-axis, you have a timeline between 2010, 2007. So they might give you a line graph or a bar graph or a bar chart. And on the x-axis, you have a timeline. This is type number one. In this case, they're talking about tourists visiting an island. So this is type number one. Question number one, a graph or a chart with a timeline. Look at the x-axis. You have a timeline. Number two, it's a chart or a graph without a timeline. It's another question type. In this case, they're talking about percentage of men and women doing exercises. Obviously, you have to write about this topic in a different way because it doesn't have a timeline. Everything is happening in 2010 in this case. So it's one specific time period. In the previous one, it's between 2010 and 2017. Different way of writing. So this is type number two. Type number three, they might be giving you a pie chart or a table or both of them. Obviously, it's another way when it comes to writing. So the words that you use, the phrases that you use, how you describe data is different. And when there is a table, it's also different. So this is the third one. The first one was a chart with a timeline. The second one, a chart without a timeline. The third one is a pie chart or a table or both of them. Number four, maps. They're going to give you maps and they would ask you to compare between these two maps. It could be before and after the construction of something. So the words that you use, the language that you use, the grammatical structures that you use is going to be different. You say, haven't we finished? No, not yet. They might be giving you a diagram or a process where you have to describe the steps of this diagram or process. Could be the steps to manufacture concrete, like in this case, or the steps to manufacture noodles, or the steps and the procedures to produce electricity. So the words, the language, the phrases that you use is going to be different. Yeah? And the words and the language and the grammatical structures that you use to compare two maps before and after, they're going to be different. The words and the phrases that you use to talk about a pie chart is different. The words and the phrases and the language that you use to talk about bar charts is different. The words, the phrases, the grammatical structures that you're going to be using to describe a line graph with a timeline is different. How it increases and how it becomes stable, and then how it decreases, and then how it fluctuates. Yeah, you have to make comparisons. Yeah, you have to report the main features. Now, don't get scared. It's not easy, to be completely honest. Even I struggle with it. Native speakers will struggle with it, because when was the last time you wrote a report? You probably never wrote a report in your life. So it doesn't come natural to you. That's why, in my personal opinion, task one, academic writing, is the most difficult part in the entire exam, in my personal opinion. That's why it has 14 hours of content on our website. Because when I explain it, obviously in the course, in the comprehensive course, I would cover each and every single type separately. And I would write a report word by word with you. So you know how it's done, because it's not easy. It's not easy. However, in this course, I'm going to be trying to summarize and to show you the should factors between all of these different types of reports. Because all of them do have should factors. They have things in common. However, the words and the language and the grammatical structure for each one of them is different, or are different, to be grammatically correct. Okay? The most popular ones that keep coming up in the IELTS exam are the first two. The line graphs with a timeline and the bar charts. These are the most popular ones. But you might be very unlucky and you might get one of these. They do not come up very often, but they do come up in the IELTS exam. Depends on how lucky or unlucky you are. To be honest, these ones are easier than these, in my personal opinion. So to be safe, you have to be familiar with all of them. Okay? Are you scared enough? Shall I keep going, or you want to cry? I'll give you like a break for 2 minutes to cry, and then we come back. Isa, we cried already. Okay? And yes, they are difficult, even for native speakers, by the way. I used to teach in one of the English schools, and I used to work with a lot of native speakers. They would tell me, like, it's difficult, even for native speakers, just letting you know. You know what I mean? Like, if I would ask you to write about this in your native language, in Arabic, would you write? You're not going to be able to write properly, even in Arabic. Yeah? Yeah, Isa goes up from here and then goes down. Yeah, goes up and goes down, you're going to get a 0. Yeah? Even in your native language, it's difficult. So it's fine. Yeah, Isa, but then goes down. Yeah, it goes down. Your score is going to go down as well. Okay.